Hi guys, welcome back to topic 5 of how to be more of the person God has called you to be. Today we're going to be talking about our close circle and who we're letting in close. This is a contradictory topic in Christianity and something I've wrestled with God. But God has finally revealed to me what I believe is biblical, and this is just my take on it, so I'm not trying to offend anybody, but this is how I view it. It tells us in Proverbs to guard our heart, right? I think that it's very important to not let everybody extremely close into your life. That is not me saying to not be friendly and kind and be friends with people who are not believers. I have lots of non-believer friends. It's very important to show those people the love of Jesus, because if you just stay in your own little Christian bubble and you stay in your own little then you're not going to be able to spread the light of Jesus to people who need it. But who are we letting influence our lives? I think there's boundaries you need to draw between people who you know clearly aren't leading you closer to Christ. And that's not in a mean way, that's not in a get away from me sort of vibe. No, that's because it physically can damage our spiritual health with Jesus. So who are you letting close? Because bad friends and bad people who don't have a great influence on your life and your relationship with God probably aren't people you should be letting close. And again, that's not in a mean way. And that's not in a way, I'm not saying don't be friendly to them, but you need to have boundaries on who you are letting close, like your close friends. I'm talking best friends. Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." Are your close friends sharpening you right now? And now I'm not telling you to go drop in every single close friend you've ever had in your life because they don't follow Jesus. No, continue to love them, continue to be friends with them because they need Jesus, and you probably be the only one planting a seed in their life. My point is that you're not going to be able to be more of the person God has called you to be if you're constantly letting people with the worldly influence you. Because and you can say oh, but I'm just kind of around them just to be nice to them and stuff, and yes, that might be true, but guys, regardless if you want to admit it or not, the people we hang out with do have an influence on us. I've noticed that when I am hanging around people who I'm not just talking hang around, I'm talking just letting close, become best friends with someone who doesn't have an extremely close relationship with God. That influences me, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, no. But my point is that if you're genuinely trying to grow close to God, you have to realize that you're going to go through a season of solitude. But that season of solitude is actually primary, because that season of solitude and season of loneliness, not even loneliness, but just season of kind of being by yourself, is going to help you grow so much closer to God. Oh my gosh. So don't stress out too much about your friends, but what I'm saying is guard your heart. And don't let people who clearly are having a great influence on your life overly close, because whether you want to admit it or not, they do have an influence on how you act. What you pour into yourself is what you pour out onto others. Are your friends pulling you closer to God or pulling you away from God? Again, I'm not saying to stay away from people who are unbelievers. Yes, Jesus sat with sinners, but he didn't sin with them. But your close friend should be someone who's pushing you towards Christ. And if you don't have somebody like that yet, that is something you can pray for. But Jesus is the only friend you'll ever need at the end of the day. So guard your heart. But yes, of course, still be loving to the darkness and be a light to the darkness. And you can still have those friends. I'm just saying I think I've said what I've said, but you get it. Anyways, I hope that this spoke to somebody who needed it, and I love you guys so much, but Jesus loves you more. Bye.